live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela with another edition of Notes on the News, where I read to you headlines just so we can get a survey of what's going on in the world. And I might share with you my thoughts and ideas about those headlines, about the article, or about the subject matter at large. But as the title says, it's not news. It's what it stands for. It's sort of kind of like an acronym combined with a word. Notes on the News. My notes on the news feed. I'm Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Welcome in to the chat. And let us proceed with the notes from the news feed. This Is Us stars Milo Ventimiglia and Mandy Moore watch the show together. Hey, yappa yappa. Watch the show together and discuss how they can do better. I really like the idea of that. I like the idea on a couple parts. I think that it's really good to evaluate your work. So I like the idea that these people are evaluating their work. I like the idea that they're doing it collaboratively, and, just trying to improve, assess, address, what's going on. How can we make it better? We should all do that, and we should do it in partnership. There's, so I like seeing that. And I think it's just an excellent show. I love that show. Do you watch This Is Us? Watch This Is Us. Women and their achievements feature on billboards in Iran. So I don't know if they're celebrating Women's History Month. I know that International Women's Day, or the International Day of the Woman, is an international celebration. I don't know who participates and who doesn't, but I thought Women's Month was something here, but maybe Iran has something like that too. And people are like, some people are like, okay, that's good. It's good to put up the signs and all of that, but we also want to see the corroborating evidence of, celebration of women in terms of, rights and freedoms and all of that kind of stuff. Japan plans to lower the age of adulthood to 18. So I don't know if their age of adulthood, peach is your color. It looks good on you. Oh, I thought it was like this blue that I never hardly wear, but thank you. Hey, Miss Talisa Ray. Okay, so we got 2 content creators on the line. If you're not already subscribed, go check out their channels. So I don't know if Japan's age of adulthood is 21, like ours sort of kind of is in this country, 18 to 21, or what. But, at 18, the young people would be able to they would be adults. They could sign contracts, vote, do whatever they got to do at 18. Now, there is a conversation and evidence, or, whatever research that shows that people's frontal lobes do not fully develop until 21, 23, 25, like that, people are still so are they really in a position to be out here signing contracts and making decisions, and they don't even know what's going on? But shoot, when I first got to college, they had, for orientation or shortly after, as soon as the parents left, they had tables set up giving children free pizzas to sign up for credit cards. So y'all, when we were engaged, I wasn't able to get it, but the young people were engaging in contracts that were going to affect their lives forever. Didn't even really understand what was going on, but I got a free t-shirt. I got a free pizza. Trump's ruthless Twitter firing gave Rex Tillerson a taste of what it's like working while black. So I came upstairs, and he was doing his press conference. I guess he spoke for 10 minutes. You may or may not know that Rex Tillerson got fired. Somebody else from the FBI, the head of the FBI, is going to be in his place. And then some woman from within the FBI or the CIA, I might have these spy agencies, but she's been moved up. And the woman who's been moved up was selected by the person who is now the head of that has Rex Tillerson's former job. And for a second, I was feeling bad for him, because I could hear that his voice was kind of shaking, and I had kind of heard that he had been, fired on Twitter. Zero is good for, just like not having any respect for anybody and not treating people with any kindness or dignity. But then it was kind of like, I'm like, Rex Tillerson, I mean, he's the one who worked for the big gas company and was like, basically, I felt like he was put in place so that, you know, they could make money with getting the sanctions lifted off of Russia so he could make money. As I was just kind of like, how am I sitting feeling anyway for daggone Rex Tillerson? But anyway, I thought this, so I did skim this essay. It's coming off of the Griot, and I thought it was like a really funny essay in terms of like, bruh, you got fired on Twitter. He too old. He probably don't even check Twitter first thing in the morning. He's probably trying to figure out how to get his cafe latte in Nigeria. And you know, that's like what happened to us the first time I was fired when I was black. You know, I thought it was just like a really good essay in terms of the combination of like humor and analysis. And you know, I'm not familiar with the particular writer. I can't remember his name, but his website is something like Waffle something, and he's from Detroit. He lived in Chicago, and he's been paid for 20 years to be aggressively light-skinned at it. I thought that was funny. So anyway, and I thought that I enjoyed the essay. It was short, it was quick. I thought it did, I just said that, so we gonna move on. Lincoln Hospital. I'm not familiar with Lincoln Hospital. Does it exist? If anybody is from Durham, North Carolina, Lincoln Hospital was founded to serve the African Americans of Durham, North Carolina. Power, that's the TV show, renewed for season 6 on Starz. Get season 5 premiere date. Now this headline made me feel a little bit tired because I only discovered, I think I've watched like 2 seasons like in real time of Power. I think that I watched, yeah, that's about right. And I think I watched 2 seasons like binging of Power so that I could be ready to watch the season that was starting. And it was kind of like, and now I'm kind of like, more seasons of Power, they're renewed for season 6. And I'm like, oh, is that what we're in? And they're like, no, we're in 5. And I'm like, ugh. So I don't know. I might be tired of Power because reading this, I was kind of like, you know. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to check it out. I didn't pull up the premiere date for Power. But, you know, for those who are interested, Power is coming back. They got a premiere date, and season 6 is okay. A strange phenomena across Europe is causing clocks to be delayed by 6 minutes. Here's why it's happening. It's something having to do, I can't remember the technical thing, but it's something like it's supposed to be like, usually it's on 50, but it's on 49.95 or whatever it is. But and so different people are having different times. And what was interesting to me about that is that with the daylight savings time that just happened now, for some reason, I knew it was coming, but then it happened and I didn't know it had happened. And you know, I find out the time from my phone. So I got up in the morning, I felt tired, and I looked at my phone and the phone said what time it was. So I'm like, I guess I'm not tired, which is kind of crazy when I realized that it was daylight savings time, because it's like, I was like, well, my phone says I've been sleeping for 7-8 hours. So I guess it's time for me to get up, instead of listening to my body, which said you're tired. And it's like, what if everybody, you know, this article kind of made me think about, you know, what if, you know, like we're so reliant on, or I've realized that I was kind of relying on technology to tell me, like, they could just change all the time, the phones, all of the, you know, and everybody would be like, oh, it must be 6 o'clock. But like, do we have an independent knowing of things? I don't really know how to articulate it, but it just kind of like gave me like this strange feeling of like being disconnected, or like willing to disconnect from, you know, I know I was tired when I woke up, and that, you know, I didn't get enough sleep, but the clock said it. And so I was like, so it's frequency deviations. Instead of delivering 50 hertz, the European grid has averaged 49.996 hertz in power supply. And it's some fight. I know what you mean. That's actually a good insight. It's some fight. I don't know if it is. It's just like, it's kind of like disorienting. It makes me feel kind of like, you know, I already had this battle with technology, but it's like, we got to know who we are, you know, go with that. I'll go with the internal clock. But see, it's like by the time daylight savings time happened, I end up getting reset. Now, I do have a little bit of a thing I noticed, like in the summertime and in the wintertime, my sleeping patterns shift. And I think it has to do with, you know, with Mother Nature, but I feel like I'm disconnected. But it's something having to do with a Kosovan power plant. Kosovo and Serbia, there's some disagreement between. So it's like politics playing in the time, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's proceed. Police looking for 3 women and 2 male accomplices suspected in murder of black man who was targeted. So they say black man in here, but they don't say the color or whatever of the people that they're looking for. And the man was like my age, but he had been married for 16 years. He like 44, whatever. But he had been married for 16 years. And it seems like what I skimmed of the article, I'm like, was he having he's like seen walking down the hall with these 2 or 3 women, and I'm like, is he going to is he having an affair? Is he having an orgy? Like, what's going on? Like, I couldn't really figure out, but they see him on camera walking with these women, and then another woman comes in and she leaves the door open. Then the 2 male accomplices or whatever, the 2 men come in, then the men leave and they're running. Now, this man was driving a Jag. So this is a wealthy black man, relatively wealthy. But he was 44 years old. He was killed at his vacation home in Lauderhill, Florida. Everybody don't have a vacation home, so he has some means. We would have celebrated our 17th anniversary on March 5th, Young said of her husband, Emerald Sr. Now, this is totally off the subject, but what kind of name is Emerald? I don't know. They had been married for 16 years. He was driving a Bentley. That's what made me think that he had some wealth. He linked up with 3 women in Fort Lauderdale on the night of February 11th. Newly released surveillance footage shows him holding hands with one of the women this is set up, as they stroll a busy sidewalk. So he out here strolling, holding hands. Sir. They head to his condo. One of the ladies is seen smiling. So when the men leave, running out of the hallway, removing a mask from his face, one of the ladies is seen smiling. I guess I kind of do believe when people say, if you'll lie, you'll steal. If you'll steal, you'll cheat. If you cheat, you kill, or whatever the progression is. I feel like if you dishonest, you dishonest. But I'm like, dang, we smiling after people been killed. Like, that was some professional activities. He was shot fatally inside his units. It's very important to pay attention. They have the group, all 5 are wanted for robbery and murder. There's a $10,000 reward. So he's survived by his wife and 2 children. But y'all remember that movie Fatal Attraction? It just kind of make me think, now I felt bad when the stuff got bad with Glenn Close and she was like crazy. And I feel like that was, her acting was top notch. She was like really cuckoo crazy. But see, if he hadn't opened the door to the cuckoo crazy by cheating on his wife, I tell that to my son all the time. He wouldn't have, you know what I mean? Yes. So I feel bad. So rest in peace. I guess, cheating shouldn't be like a death sentence. I don't necessarily believe that. And maybe he and his wife had an arrangement. Maybe it wasn't even cheating. I don't know. I don't know those people. Just be careful out here, meeting, strangers on the internets and on the streets too. He met them people on the streets in Fort Lauderdale. Gina Haspel, who is Trump's pick as CIA director. I was kind of curious about it because she was a woman, but I think we're still on the Rex Tillerson thing. But I think that, it's all part of the Russian connection. Like I figure, these people are all in on the agenda, on the hustle, professionals. I don't know if they professionals, but Trump seemed like he a professional, like a hustler, and I guess these are his kind of people. Madonna to direct MGM's True Tale Taking Flight about Sierra Leone orphan Michaela Prince. I don't know if you're familiar with Michaela Prince, but what's interesting to me about this is that Madonna, it's good a woman is directing, I guess. Madonna, we know, has these African children that she's oh, look at this imagery. See, now when I first pulled the article off of my my news feed, the image was of Michaela Prince with her legs splayed. I mean, that line was just fabulous. I mean, and that's the child. So Madonna, we know, has adopted black children. And we know Michaela Prince was adopted into a white family. Look at that. Look at that. That girl. Oh, I don't know if you can see it good. Look at that. That's her leg. That's her leg, girl. Talented. And this is a child who, when she was living, I can't remember what African country she was from, but she had found a picture of a ballerina as like a little girl and was like, that's what she wanted to do. I think it's really amazing, like, you know, these little 4-year-olds who are like piano prodigies, or how did her spirit, how did her soul know that she wanted to be a ballerina? And when she came to this country, when she was adopted, now I think that she was the one who was in the orphanage, and there were 17 kids in the orphanage, and they didn't have names, they had numbers, and the numbers were based on their, you know, who was favored. You know, some were blessed and highly favored, and she was at the bottom. She was number 17. So they would feed all of the children, and then when they got to number 17, if they had food, she'd get some. If not, oh well. And I think she might have like something going on with her skin where it's different colors, or, you know, there was some, is there ever a reason? But they had some reason, they thought, why they didn't like the child. So she got adopted, and then her sister, who was number 16, who was not like her sister by blood, but her sister, because she was number 16. They were at the bottom of the barrel. Her sister got adopted by the same white American family. But she saw this picture, said she wants to be a ballerina. Her family, the white people who adopted her, believed her and ended up putting her in classes. And she obviously is like very talented and gifted. You know, but like, how does your heart know? How does your soul know? Like, how did the child know? I mean, how? You know, that's like, I'm always fascinated by like Serena Williams' daddy. Like, how, you know, he was like watching the tennis people, heard how much money they made. He's like, well, I could make some tennis stars. And then the next 2 children he had, this way the story go in my head, they're Venus and Serena. I mean, how? I just think that's like amazing. But what caught my attention is Madonna with her connection to African children, and then this African child with her connection to, you know, the white people, and you know, being adopted and all of that, and like sort of like the stories, her story, you know, being told by these white people, but her having been, you know, I mean, you know, it's not like a criticism of the white people or a criticism of Madonna, but it's just like kind of like well, what does it mean for, and is that our story? Like, is that child our child? Is she like the world? Like, I kind of have like a conflicted feeling about it. You know, I guess I really do, but I have just imagined her experience has been that white people have been, I'm sure she's had white people be nice to her. I'm sure she's had white people be very mean to her, just like she's had some black people be mean to her, but I wish that white people would leave our people alone. She's had some black people be mean to her, and I hope she's had some black people be nice to her. I wish they would leave us alone. IHOP server tells black teenagers to pay up before they eat. Now, this is a trend. This is not the first story we've seen come across the news feed with this, you know, different, you know, the rules are you pay after you eat, but since you black, the rules are, I'm going to make some different rules for you. I don't think it's a corporate policy. So it just seems to be a peace, Haru, apocalypse. Peace, y'all. Welcome on the chat. I am a freelancer living in London who relies on my fiance financially. Here's what I spend in a week. Now, this was fascinating to me because I'm like, they're a freelancer. There's somebody I follow on Twitter called Black Freelancer. And I'm like, they're a freelancer, but they rely on their fiance. Like, they're not generating enough income as a freelancer to support themselves. So I was just kind of curious. Now, here's the image of the woman. So she probably not a black freelancer, but she can have a weave. We don't know. But she's a freelancer in London, and she makes $16,825 since you're black and young. $6,825, I guess, a year. Last year, that was her income. And her fiance makes $70,000. So imagine the difference in the quality of life that she could have on her own income. That would basically, in this country, put her like at like right very close to the poverty line, versus, them combined being at, 86, which is not, I guess it's twice the average in this country, but it's not like just an opulent income, but it's a big come up for her. And that allows her, and that gives her the flexibility and the freedom, I guess, to build her freelancing and to do what she wants to do. But what, kind of what caught my attention about it, one, I was curious about the numbers because I'm always kind of fascinated by numbers like that and how people live. But also when I worked in youth development, what I started to realize is that a lot of people who did the type of work that I was doing, I was not a social worker. I ran youth programs and I helped community organizations to develop programs. But what I realized is that a lot of the women and a lot of the women, white women, historically and traditionally who did that work were basically ladies who lunch. Like, they were not their income, like that work was just kind of like, a hobby. And like, especially once I got into it and I'm like, wait a second. The poverty business is about the business of keeping poverty going. What is going on here? I mean, I was like, they're not trying to make things better. They're just trying to keep the system going and to keep these little black and brown folks cooled out. But it's like, that's their role, like, as, the ladies who lunch. And, I guess in some ways, I could, I could almost be, in that category, sort of, kind of. I'm fascinated by kept women. So she's kind of like, to me, a kept woman in a way. Although, yeah, I think she's a kept woman because she's obviously living well above, her income. And most women, a lot of times, the income that you're able to generate. But it also brings to mind, I saw an article the other day, or someone was tweeting the other day. I can't remember who it was, but it was a thread and it was excellent. She was talking about a lot of the things that we major in as black and brown folks, sociology. That's what I majored in, urban affairs, English, you're not like, and even, when I was like really paying attention to, brother man, my white uncle in Tennessee, who's kind of conservative, who does a talk show about money, black studies. Hey, Vondi Gaiman, these things that we're majoring in are not, and but anyway, the white guy who does Dave Ramsey, he would always talk about, that's the name of the game of the system, keep the cycle going and use black people to keep it going. Yep, exactly. Criminal justice. So anyway, Dave Ramsey, when I was listening to him, I noticed a lot of people, I went to medical school, or I went to law school, and we have all of these loans, but I just want to stay at home with the children. And Dave Ramsey is like, no. You spend all that money going to medical school, you get your behind out there and work until you pay off those debts. And he had like a certain orientation about, like being in debt and getting out of debt. And, although cash flow, we were talking yesterday, Yapo about cash flow and that whole debt, they got that debt orientation, but Dave Ramsey don't have that debt orientation. But, or that I went to the school and I couldn't afford it. And so I took out all of these loans, and Dave Ramsey is like, no, you go to the school you can afford, and so this idea of, I'm majoring in black studies, I'm majoring in, drama because, and art, I'm majoring in art history. I have a girlfriend who majored in art history. She spent some time in Paris. She married a French man, and I've lost track of her. And I always wonder, where are you, Kira? Kira! But anyway, I'm majoring in art history. I'm majoring in this. I'm majoring in that. But it's not going to translate into an ability to generate. I like Dave Ramsey. Yeah, he my kind of uncle in my head who's conservative. Some of his beliefs I don't like. But I like how passionate he is about hating debt. He don't, And I did Financial Peace University. I learned some stuff from him. But, and I like how he talked to the people. Like I feel like, unlike what's the woman's name who's like, yes, everyone needs to have a good debt score or whatever, yes, we all have to bow down at the mighty altar of debt. I don't believe in that. Susie Orman, I don't believe in that mess. But we major and we get into these financial situations, or as black people, as women, a lot of times we make decisions that are not in alignment with us being able to support ourselves financially. But also, I kind of feel like I feel like it's a blessing, it's a blessing, open, honest candor. It's a blessing to be Susie Orman. It's a blessing to be able to, and I receive, I'm grateful that I have been able to be like a kept woman in a way and be able to like pursue my heart. And I don't know if that's like right or wrong. But yeah, so anyway, that's what that article had me thinking about. Just like, when we're out here, like, and I also kind of feel like one thing that I have learned kind of like going up and down in life is that, I don't need to drive a Bentley. I don't need, I like a vacation home. I like to vacation, but like I'm like kind of simple in terms of like, like I like to be able to travel. I like to eat, but I eat beans and rice. Like I feel like I'm not like, and I like to be able, I like that my values align. Like my lifestyle is not like I'm like, living like, woo, I'm just living large and I'm not generating any income. But anyway, and then also I just have this thing about income and about, like the society, like I just really feel like, and I know this is probably like, I just feel like we should be able to be free. Like I just have this vision. My vision of the world is like where people are free to be who they are. Like be fabulous you. God called you to do something. God put something in your heart. And I just have to see this world where we're just like all out here doing what we've been called to do. Some people are called to dance. Some people are called to write. Some people are called to study astrology. Some people are called to, take care of the children. Some people are called to, and I feel like you have the same view. I feel like I would love for us to be free to follow our heart and to follow our joy and to follow our calling and to follow the God voice in us and to do that uninhibited by you got to pay these bills, because I feel like a lot of times that like you feel enslaved, just like debt made me feel enslaved, but like I feel like there are other things that like make you feel enslaved and kind of disconnect you from, your heart. And I just, 5 reasons, this is an essay coming off of the Griot, ABC must air the canceled Blackish episode about NFL protests. And I'm kind of like, again, we talked about this yesterday. Didn't you get the word, Griot? They own the platform and they ain't must got to do nothing. It's their platform and they can do what they got to do. But anyway, I clicked on it and because I had a little bit of attitude because I'm like, what? But there was something in it that was interesting that I can't remember now. So I'm going to hit that and keep moving and maybe look back. What would you do? Seattle Seahawks players baffled by a white woman's crazed rant over player protests. Now, these people say, I think the woman then followed them off the field to the dugout or where, whatever. Dugout, I think it's baseball. But, she mad at them for kneeling. And I think I'm calling fools. I think these fools ain't even kneeling. And they don't understand why she like, what's going on? Because she's crazy. Some white people are crazy. Many of us are crazy. But you know how, you be like loud and wrong. She just on them hard and she got the wrong ones. So what did they say? This is back to Blackish. It's on brand for the show. So I don't know what they said that made me. ABC is making money moves. Oh, this is what caught my attention. Because I'm trying to figure out, like, they say follow the money. Our guess is that ABC, which is owned by Disney. Disney is the one that put out Black Panther and A Wrinkle in Time. Which also owns ESPN. ESPN is where Jemele Hill works. She was working on air on a show called something. She's a black woman in sports who got into this Twitter beef with Trump or whatever. Because she said Trump was a racist or whatever. She said something obvious, and now it's like, you're suspended for 2 weeks. And then but she's working now for an online platform called The Undefeated, which is still owned by ESPN. And we found out a couple of days ago that her partner, they had a show called His and Hers. It's about sports or something like that. But they came in together, and when she got suspended, I don't know if y'all remember this. I don't know if I talked about it yesterday here, but I talked about it someplace else. But when she got suspended, they were going to bring in a black person, like, hey, Angela, come on in. We need a black woman to fill that spot. And her partner was like, no, you won't. There were 2 other black people, and they like, no, we not. You can't just plug and play, unplug one black woman and plug in another black woman. We not here for it. So if you doing that, we all walking. So they kind of negotiated, and I like that. But anyway, that's the ESPN. So ABC, Disney, ESPN is terrified of catching the wrath of the NFL. So that just kind of caught my attention, because it's like, how, just all of the dynamics of like because here we're like, oh, yay, Black Panther. But that same corporation or part of that same corporate structure, like, it's not here for us. And I think that sometimes something can appear to be for you, and you can move together for a short period of time and maybe, benefit from something, but not get like deeply attached to something or feel like, yes, Disney is our friend. Because these corporations are not here for us. They're not our friends. So anyway, that was that. What would you, we talked about that. Diddy praises Issa Rae for inviting him to share his $1 billion wisdom. And I was kind of like, that's like me being like, I compliment all of you for being so smart to be here listening to me. Like, I'm like, that's kind of like, but then I'm like, I guess, I've learned here recently that Diddy is like, a well-respected, if you get the chance, watch the documentary, The Lottery of Birth. It's very insightful. Is it on Netflix? Diddy is an accomplished, Black American capitalist, or, whatever, like, he's done so he might have some perspective and, that's worth listening to. And maybe it's just the way the headline was written. Oh, Hulu. I saw somebody say, I love Hulu. Now, I was watching on Hulu, Harlots, about kept women or sex workers and that whole dynamic. And also, I think Handmaid's Tale is on Hulu. Russia says the U.S. is about to strike Syria, and it will strike back. I'm still confused about the whole, he likes to present himself as such, like 50 Cent. Well, I mean, they out here selling alcohol to the people. The people like the alcohol. They selling clothes in TV shows. Now, 50 Cent seemed like he present himself as a fool. When I see 50 Cent in interviews, he seems like, reasonable. But then his Twitter persona seems like, or whatever, it seemed like he had his crazy other persona. Now, maybe that's just joking. I mean, maybe he's just joking and I just don't get the jokes. Like, like maybe, but 50 Cent seems like cuckoo to me. Like, everybody leave stars because Power made me mad, but they don't own any of it if they are the pitchmen for white companies. Right. I don't know. And then I'm still kind of confused because Diddy have, so they're like, OWN is a black owned company, but news, y'all know what I'm trying, like a TV show, like not a show, but it's a network. It's black owned network. Right. But she is in partnership with the people she don't own 100% of that company, does she? And then these other, then Diddy is part of some Revolt, I think it's called. Now he's like the face of it. He has some ownership stake in it. I don't think it's 51%, but I don't really understand. Like, it's all, I'm curious. I want to understand that, but I don't understand it. For a second, it seemed like I would listen to Boyce Watkins, and I've heard him talk about like media ownership and stuff, and it was like I could get some interesting stuff. But I don't know. I haven't really. It'd be hard to filter. Sometimes, people, it's a lot going on and trying to filter through, you kind of miss stuff. Or, you just stop listening because it'd be so much other stuff that, I lost my place. Russia's, okay, we talked about that. Syria and the all, and how is I guess because Trump, Byron Allen is the only black person who really owns anything like that. I think I heard about Byron Allen from listening to Boyce Watkins, and I think that Byron Allen had sued somebody, and I think that it was Byron Allen the one who tried to buy Birth of a Nation from the young black guy, and he offered 20 million, and Fox offered 20 million. I'm distracting you on accident. I apologize. And Fox, but I was trying to get clear about because I think that Fox and Byron Allen basically offered the same amount of money, and the young black guy went with Fox because he felt that the distribution would be stronger. And I was kind of sad. I wish that he had gone with a black-owned company, but I think it was Byron Allen, but I'm not sure. But I think if it is, that's who I heard of on from Financial Juneteenth. I can't think of his name. The Eiffel Tower might be repainted its original color, and it's a lot brighter than you would expect. I don't even know what color the Eiffel Tower is. Is it green? But the original color was, did you know, red. And they say it's easier to detect rust or something if it's red. A Russian political exile who warned he was on Putin's hit list has been found dead in London. So I'm like, are these recycled stories? Like, am I seeing the same story show up on different media outlets? Or does it seem like there have been about 5 Russian people killed in the last day? And then it makes me feel like I'm like, this could be like a movie. You know, like how you go and you watch those movies where it's like, Putin has a hit list and the super white men are like trying to save the world and get a fight against the hit list. And, but I'm like, I think it's been like 5 people in the last 5 days. And it seemed like a movie, I guess not to the people who are being killed by the nerve agents and all of the other stuff they doing. But Detroit announces $250 million to protect affordable housing. I kind of skimmed the article, but what I was kind of curious about is, so they protecting affordable housing by giving money to big corporations. Is that how they protect? Who build in Canada, they have like a slightly different model, as I understand it, where, when housing is built, some of the housing has to be designated for low and moderate income people. I'm laughing because I think that in New York they had something similar, and I think in somebody's building, it might have been Zero's building, they had low income people who were part of the housing, the building, like it had 400 residents and 40 of them were low income, and they had a separate door for the low income people. Y'all don't come in the front door, y'all come in that door over there. And the government paid the money for that bull. But I think that's, I was just kind of curious about what's going on with that. Video catches white woman harassing NFL players over anthem protests. Get off your knees. I think this is the same one we were talking about who had some men who, I guess all black people look alike to her. I don't even know if they were black, but they weren't protesters, they said. Viola Davis, that's what they get for not being protesters. They should have been protesters. Viola Davis to tackle the fashion project black men have been waiting for in Long Beach, California is like that. What, in terms of the housing where it's mixed in? The winner of $560 million lottery ticket can remain anonymous, scoring a big win for privacy. We've been talking about that, I think, just once, but she or he won the lottery, signed the back of the ticket because that's what they told him to do online, then found out that they did not have to disclose their identity. If they had known, they wouldn't have signed the ticket. So, they collected their money, they set up a foundation. But, it does kind of talk about, I think that there are probably different types of people who win the lottery. Like if I won the lottery, that would probably be me. And I'd probably be like, well, I'm going to set it aside for a few years and just try to like let my consciousness catch up, But, the other people would be like, I won! I'm rich! They want to be all on the news. And they probably, it's not going to last for very long. Because people, the people who win the lottery, a lot of times, I don't know what the statistics are, but it's not unusual to win the lottery today, win a bunch of money today, I think that's safest. I wouldn't want anyone to know, not even my goldfish. They win the lottery today, and then within 5 years, they're back, And even Iyanla had somebody on her show who had done, and you could see when you looked at how she was living and how she was thinking and what was going on with her, it was like, I don't want anyone to know. Yeah. And this person, yeah. But how the young woman was living, and it was just like, it was a mess. You just felt, I said a prayer for her. I say, let's send some love out to her now, because it seemed like she was on the road to being, because I guess you just are where you are. Your consciousness, you can't, Best Buy is punishing customers who return too many items, and it's a disturbing trend sweeping across the retail industry. I remember when I worked in retail, and there were some people who were like good for returning stuff, but I kind of feel like so some of these people are like, people come to make returns and they're like, you made too many returns, so you can't make a return. And I just feel like it's bad business, it's bad policy. Like, I just don't understand the business model. I guess, when you're running a big corporation, maybe they feel like they have like hustlers and they have to catch the hustlers. But I just feel like that just seems tacky to me. Like, yeah. So, but I guess that's like the newest trend in retail. What are they doing? Making them pick their own switch and giving them a whooping? And don't make me have to go out. Don't come back with no switch that I have to get my behind up and go outside and get a switch. Because if I have to go out and get a switch, then I'm going to get a switch that's really going to mess you up. And then you out there standing there looking at the tree like, I don't want to get nothing too big. I don't want to get nothing too small. Dang, why we got to have stories of been beaten as children? Just beaten. Switched. Why seeing police train Texas teachers to fire guns should terrify Black parents? I don't even think we need to talk about this. But I saw another thread on Twitter yesterday where somebody was like, he was asking all of the right questions, and I guess he comes from having been in the military, but at the end of his thread, I was kind of like, I was already not a fan to begin with, but at the end of his thread, I was like, oh my gosh, like training people to kill people is like an advanced thing that they do in the military. It's because of credit card fraud. Oh, the retail thing with not returns. Okay. But training people to kill people in the military is a big deal. And even, I think even when people have been trained to kill people, I think a lot of people don't kill people when they're in the situation because there's something counterintuitive to killing people. Like, I don't think it's just like normal and natural. It's hard to train. It's hard to get them soldiers to be out. You can buy an item and return it for cash. It's hard to get them people out there, killing people. And then they're like the teachers. Hey, Queen Bianca Brooks. Then the teachers, you training them to kill someone who might be a student, like the child who came into this last school who they talking about giving the death penalty to. It might be one of your students. So now you're a teacher, but you're looking at your students as potentially somebody that you might have to kill, and you're training the teachers to be ready to kill. It was just like the whole thing. I was like, oh my gosh. It was like, I'm just thinking, the same old crazy people that been killing, Black folks are going to be, but this just took it to I was just like, wow. Amazon's gold Kindle Oasis reminds everyone just how rich you are. I like Amazon, although once I got a tablet, I was kind of like, but, makes you wonder how we got to this place. I think, and are we imploding, or is this just like business as usual for this country? Because it's so violent and so crazy that it seems like it's just part of that violence and craziness. But is this like, remember the Aztec calendar expired or something, and it was like supposed to be the end times. Teotihuacali. I was trying to talk about that the other day. The end of the world as we knew it. And I couldn't think of that for nothing. But remember when the Aztec calendar was expiring and it was supposed to be the end of the world, and the Mayan calendar, and people were like, oh, some people in some communities were like, oh, what's going to happen? And then nothing happened. But people say that something did happen on the metaphysical plane. And so maybe this is like, because sometimes something can happen and something has changed, and you, like, it happens in relationships all the time. You know, something changes in the relationship, and you may or may not, like, I know I have changed toward people. It's like something happens, like I have a friend now, and we've never talked about it. And like, if he asks me about it, we will talk about it, but I'll probably never bring it up. But I don't look at him the same way. But I don't think he realized that like, my perspective on him was totally altered. You know, and it's like sometimes in life, the energy changes, the vibration changes, and we don't even realize that it's changed. You know, it's like, you know, when enslavement officially ended in 1866, whenever. But like, even when we were watching Underground, it's like they were so close to when it was officially going to be illegal. You know, but it's sort of like sometimes something has changed and you don't know. And also sometimes it seems like things are worse when they're not worse. Sometimes it seems like we're never going to get out of this mess. And then all of a sudden you're out of, like, I guess that's the expression, things are darkest before the dawn. And so it's sort of like, you know, I guess just encouragement and a reminder, like, you know, you keep fighting, you keep doing what God has assigned you to do. You stay focused on that. You stay strong with that, and don't get distracted by what things appear to be, because what things appear to be is not often what they are, you know. So the gold Kindle reminds us of how rich we are. You know, like, it's like they're basically saying it's very conspicuous consumption. Like, oh, you got a Kindle and now you got to have it's gold. You just really trying to show out and show, like, yeah, I'm, you know, what they say, flossing, I'm flossing. I don't know what they say. You out here wearing Oshun. No, Mashoud. You out here wearing Mashoud. See, most people don't know what Mashoud is, but if you're in a certain community in Brooklyn or wherever, you're like, oh, that's an expensive piece. But to everybody else, it just looked like some of that African mess. How Marvel's Black Panther is inspiring Black money movement in Brazil. It's like when a person finds out that they are terminally ill, it seems like it happened suddenly, but it had actually been developing for many years. Okay, moving on. Yep. And that's what they say. Like, they say, like, I remember reading this book on a quantum leap, and like how, you know, what appears to be a quantum leap is often happening, you know, it's stuff happening underground all the time. They talked about lily ponds and, you know, how the things divide, you know, every day. And then one day it's like nothing is there. And then one day it's like half full. And then suddenly the next day it's totally full because it doubles. But anyway, yep, that's how it is. And like, if you eat a hot dog every day, you know, a hot dog, it's not going to hurt you on day 1, on day 2, on day 3. And then suddenly you're sick and you don't know why. It's because, you know, and the same thing, you put positive deposits in, you know, and then, you know, things happen and you're like, wow, how did it happen? I don't know. How Marvel's Black Panther is inspiring a Black money movement in Brazil. I wanted to know more about that, but I didn't read the story. But basically, it sounds like a Buy Black campaign. And I was like, that's really interesting and exciting to hear. And I'm always in favor of us increasing our consciousness around supporting one another and supporting Black businesses and building and developing. You know, everybody else got businesses. The country where more than 70% of the people are overweight or obese. And I was surprised by what the country is, but now I can't remember what it was. But it seemed like we had just been talking about it yesterday or the day before. I'm waiting for the article to come up. So, the country is Qatar. 70% of the people are overweight. That's like worse than here. Is it like, it's like 30% here. That's like awful. And I think they were talking about food and the way they're eating and stuff. That's intense. That becomes a cultural thing. Like the culture of the South, you know, like a lot of fried foods, a lot of sweets, or like in India, a lot of fried foods, a lot of sweets, a lot of milk and dairy products. And like, you can see it in the way that the people look. Some, you know, Microsoft faces 238 complaints of gender discrimination. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, 238. I don't know. It sounds like there may be a pattern there. This is the most attractive lip shape across the world, according to science. You know, sometimes I was looking at a picture, I don't know, of some white man, and I'm like, he don't have no upper lip at all. I got on this, the color lipstick I have, it's like from here, I can't even see my lips. I'm like, I don't have any lips at all. I have to become a white man. But I was like, he doesn't have an upper lip at all. But I don't know what the most attractive lip shape is according to science. But if you're interested, you can go to feedproxy.com, google.com and find out. But does it really matter? Because I feel like attraction is so individual and personal anyway. Like, I don't know. The glacier that keeps collapsing, and that imagery, that picture was really pretty. It was like the blue on the ice. I was like, what? I didn't really get to look at it long because I didn't have time, but I was like, what? It was beautiful. I've never been to Alaska. Has anybody been to Alaska? I hear it's beautiful, but I don't like cold places so much. But I hear that it's really a nice place to go. So I guess Alaska is on my list of places to go, but it's probably like perpetually at the bottom. Like if somebody was like, hey, come on, let's go to Alaska, my treat, I'd be like, let's go. But other than that, I'll probably never go to Alaska. A fan abused a Seahawks. Dang, how come we keep getting the same story? A fan abused a Seattle Seahawks player for kneeling during the national anthem, but he didn't even kneel. Argentine Navy rescues U.S. scientists from Antarctica. National Geographic, our coverage was racist. Was? China's government, I would like to go there or wherever I can go to see the Northern Lights. Oh, I don't even know. I've heard the term, but I don't even know what the Northern Lights are. China's government may be moving away from its two-child policy as birth rates continue to plummet. I think they had the people are trying so hard in China. Is this the story, the backstory? They're trying so hard in China to have boys instead of girls that they were having 1 million children, trying to like, you know, dang, another girl. We've been cursed. Isn't that terrible? I mean, I'm a girl. Why am I? I'm a blessing. It makes me feel bad that you don't want to have a girl. Dang. But I think that, you know, they were trying so hard to have as many boys and just throw it away to girls. And then, you know, China's like, okay, it's too many. So we're going to have a two-child policy. But I think you can pay to have more children. But now the birth rates have continued to plummet. So they got to do something different, I guess. Dozens of students die as bus falls off cliff in Ethiopia. So rest in peace, you know, to those students. And to their families and their communities. My mother Ivy was talking about in South Africa, you know, like going up in Lesotho. I think that's a whole nother country, the kingdom of Lesotho. But I think they were riding up a mountain, up a waterfall and talking about how scary it is. And I think of like, it seems like whenever I, you know, travel outside of the country and even like going through Glacier National Park and sometimes just driving across country here, to me, I get a little scared. Like, I don't like when you have those barriers on two sides of you. That stresses me out. But like, I've been up, you know, mountains, and it's scary, but like in Jamaica and stuff, and the people are driving so fast, and they blink their lights at each other, and you know, it's like, I guess the system works, I guess, except for that you see all of the people who have expired, like, you know, you see crosses all around the edge, so it's like, it's not working, and you know, and she was talking about going up the mountain and how stressful, and you know, it was beautiful on one hand, but scary on another hand, and so I wonder if this cliff, you know, this Ethiopia, like, if it was that type of situation, like, you know, it just seems like some of these roads are, you know, I feel like even in the best circumstances, we were just talking about this the other day, like they just put a white line in the middle of the road and the people are supposed to stay in their lanes and not run into you, and for the most part they do, but I don't know. So, you know, rest in peace for those people and everybody else. I might have mentioned some other people who made their transitions. So see how a hate group is trying to spread fear in Atlanta neighborhoods. So they drop in flyers. I don't know what the flyers say, but that's like, I guess, part of their speciality, like spreading fear, terrorism, you know, yeah. Rapper Craig Mack, one of the first Bad Boy artists, dead at 46. So rest in peace to him. What happened? What did he die from? Does anybody know? Was he sick? Was it? I barely know who he was, but I looked up in the article and they said some song, and I was like, oh, when they said the title, I was like, I think that's this song, but now I can't even remember it. Heart failure. Yeah, so rest in peace to him. And I guess, he's impacted, a lot of people's lives, and, hopefully it's, for the best, but, and I guess, I don't know if the heart failure was something from birth, like was it a congenital issue, or did it have to do with like nutrition and, how we, but if it does have to do, what's on Black Junction TV? Oh, that's because I joined. So now emails are coming across my phone. I'm at a loss as to the information surrounding his sudden passing. Well, someone said heart failure. So does it sound kind of fishy? Was he politically I mean, I didn't really know much about him. Charles Manson death, grandson to get body. So what was interesting about this to me is that Charles Manson, he was like a mass murderer, I think, and he had like a group of people and they went around mass murdering. But I mean, there's so many people in this society who are mass murderers, right? Like, I don't know. But anyway, he's been singled out as like this special kind of mass murderer, and he's been in jail. In the image they had, he had a swastika on his forehead, which is an ancient symbol. I don't know what it means in ancient times, but, to us today, for the most part, it represents, I guess, being a Nazi or whatever. But, so yes, he was one of the originals. One of the original what? Mass murderers? No, he wasn't. He only about 60, 70 years old. They've been doing this stuff for a while. But what they were talking about, maybe he reincarnated. What they were talking about is that I don't know who the grandson is who got the body, but I guess that the people want to get parts of the body and like sell it and make money off of them or something. It's like, I guess some people are really into, like Charles Manson himself said, I'm the one who laid the tracks down, the tracks of foolishness and evil. I think he was running on somebody else's tracks, but I don't know. I mean, but there are people who collect paraphernalia, and I don't know how I know this. It seemed like I saw a film or read a book or something, but they are like, oh, he's a mass murderer. He masterminded the murders. He's a murderer. I want his shoe, or look, I got the sock of this mass murderer. And they're like really into it, and they pay money and they bid online, and, they get really excited about getting things from people who have I don't know, like that quality of people. That's like really exciting to some people. So I guess that there was like a concern that, he lived way longer than he should have. That is so sick. Well, I was gonna say maybe I'll look him up, but it seemed like it's so many. I'm surprised that he said he used to study people like Anton LaVey. I don't know who that is too. Levy. I don't know who that is either. But I'm like shocked that y'all just think he was like the worst of the worst. Cause I'm like, have y'all been to America? Y'all know about the history of the country, the history of the world? I mean, it's some treacherous people out here. He the worst of the worst. So that makes me like curious, like, well, what did he do? I mean, Pasadena police chief resigns after video showing officer breaking black man's leg goes viral. What I thought was interesting about that is that he resigned because, I guess I just figured these people just be like, oh, well, he was doing a good job. He was afraid for his life. He had to break his leg. He had to, whatever so I'm like, I don't know, maybe he had some, or she, I think it was a man, had some feeling of, Google that name when you have a chance. And Anton LaVey. A legislator has sparked online fury for saying that men should beat their wives. And I thought I had this on my newsfeed, but I don't remember talking about it. So if I did talk about it, forgive me. But it was like some conversation about, now that's the worst of the worst, just famous example. I agree with you, though. He was one of many. there was some conversation about domestic violence and abuse, and he was like, well, hey, I think it's cool to, beat your wife. You gotta beat your wife sometime, show her that you the man and that you in control. And I think he was responding to another politician who had said something like, well, men who beat their wives ain't boo-boo or whatever. So he was like, well, hey, hold on a second now, I disagree with that. And then when people checked him on it, he's like, I'm not talking about beating her to the point where she have to go to the hospital, but you gotta slap her up. He's a Ugandan politician, but I just thought it was interesting, right? I just thought, well, one, I was happy that he was in conversation with another man who had a whole different perspective, who seemed relatively sane. But the fact that he didn't double down, but it's like, I think some people really do just believe that in their, as a man, you need to discipline your wife. You need to touch her a bit. You tackle her. You beat her somehow to really streamline her. That was like when people be telling me, Angela, you need to take it down. I feel like if I was in interaction with him, he'd be trying to streamline me. You can't streamline me. What? This is him. Oh, and then the other thing that was amazing to me was his name. His name looks like one twin. It's Onesmus, 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 I don't know how you pronounce it, Twinamasico, Twina Masiko, Masiko. That's stupid. We cut out for a second. So anyway, I just liked his name. Like, it seemed like a character name, like one twin, like he might be the one twin who was evil, and then two twin, I'm like, what kind of name is that? Like, I was just really curious about it. Because some of these, there's an African woman who has business here. Her name is Beauty. Now, I don't know if that's a translation. I don't know if that's what she goes by, but, like I have a first cousin, not a first cousin, but anyway, a cousin. Her people need to keep their hands off of each other. If I need to put my hands on you, I don't need to be with you, and darn sure they need to keep their hands off of me. Right. It's just like our conflict resolution skills. I just feel like even as like governments too, like to me, the idea that it's 2018 and, we feel like, well, the best solution is to go in with guns and shoot people, like as a governmental policy. Like, is that a society? Like, that just seems like, I guess they said it in Black Panther, and I was like in agreement. Like, that's so savage. Like, that's the best skill set you have. Like, I'm mad, so I'm gonna, let's fight. Sometime on Twitter, people will say something and they'll be like, fight me. And I think it's funny, but not literally. Like, we go fight. Like, LA math teacher leaves disgusting message for student who allegedly stole his computer mouse. Now, I thought it was a voicemail message, but I think he put the message like up on the screen in the classroom. I don't know if it's a he or a she, but I'm assuming. I don't know why I always be assuming the mess, this kind of mess comes from a man. Because some men just act so crazy, but it could be a woman. A high school in Louisiana, Brittany Taylor, a student at the high school, posted an appalling message left by her math teacher, Randolph Perez, targeting another student who allegedly stole his computer mouse. Now listen to okay. Welcome to room 312, to the moronic, self-obsessed ethnic who stole the mouse from the back computer. The fact that you do not know both your parents and that the so-called adults that are caring for you cannot afford a $5 part because they are too busy buying drugs and coring cigars at the ShopRite does not change the fact that you are nothing more than a two-bit thief and a waste of carbon and oxygen. So one of the children took a picture of the message and posted it on her Facebook. We've been talking about schools, and I told y'all I started reading out loud on my page from the Independent Black / African Agenda presented by Fatiba. And we've been talking about African-centered schools a little bit as it comes up, but who are these crazy people? I mean, I guess they're all around us. They're in school. Somebody was up in their feelings. They were up in their feelings, but the things that they said were really like does he know this particular, was he acute? Like, is it like Angela? I know Angela's mother doesn't have $5 to buy a mouse. Or was he just assuming because all of the children were mostly black and brown? Was he making a generalization that none of y'all know your fathers, none of y'all have both parents, none of y'all have enough money to buy a $5 mouse, all of your parents are using drugs and coring cigars? What is that, coring cigars? Is that when they take use the cigars and put weed in it or something? I don't know. But anyways, is that like, was it specific toward someone he was specifically accusing, or was it just like a general statement of a sense of all of the young people in his, anyway. So it's not LA, it's probably Louisiana. Sounds like a typical racist rant to me without knowing anything about the story. Right, that's what it sounded like to me. One time, I don't know if you're in Long Beach, but one time I was supposed to be going to LA, and I had planned to go to the Soul Vegetarian in Long Beach, General Jab and Melanated People. I had planned to go to the Soul Vegetarian in Long Beach because I've been to the one in Chicago, the ones in Atlanta, the one in DC, the one, I try to go. I've gone to almost all of them, and I was like so excited about going to Long Beach and California and LA. And then we were on a buddy pass situation, and we ended up, we drove down to Louisiana to New Orleans because we were gonna fly out of New Orleans. And we couldn't get, it was a buddy pass situation. And so we just kept getting bumped and bumped and bumped. And we're like, forget about it. We're not going to LA. We're going to stay here in LA. We're not going to Los Angeles. We're going to stay here in Louisiana. So anyway, this was in Louisiana, not LA. But anyway, okay. Texas City drops its bus service in favor of ride-sharing vans. Mother arrested after Good Samaritans find her infant alone on the street. And she said that the infant who was laying on the street, climbed out of the back of the car and opened the door. Like, I was just kind of like confused by the whole story. Like, what happened? Like, what really happened? I don't know if, I don't know. But anyway, that's not good. That anything could have happened to the baby. CDC just released a statement that adds a new twist to the missing scientist that we've been talking about at the, the brother who is missing from, I think he's in Atlanta. But in the story was that he had been turned down for a promotion, but now they're saying he wasn't turned down for a promotion. So was that deliberate misinformation to distract from the fact that he was out here talking about the flu, getting the flu shot, give people the flu? Because that's what it made. I'm suspicious already, and now I'm really suspicious. Y'all changing the story and putting out wrong information. Why? What you trying to hide? Uber exec says white men need to make noise about diversity. I don't know what they're talking about, but I feel like as human beings, we all need to stand up for all human beings. Like, I don't feel like it should be like, well, I'm not this, so I don't care if they dog out that. I feel like we need to stand up for all, everybody needs to stand up for everybody, for the humanity of everybody. Cause that's the human thing to do. Bono's advocacy group investigates reports of abuse, bullying, harassment in South Africa office. Now, I don't know exactly who Bono is, but I think it's like a rock and roll group or something. But anyway, they have an advocacy group and something's going on. Chinese fans say Black Panther is too black. Deadly Texas parcel bomb attacks linked. So U2 was the lead singer. Okay, yeah. And I think they tried to be like fairly progressive or something. I had that impression. So yesterday we started hearing these stories of these bombs, like that there were 3 people who were bombed, like they would get a package and then they would open it and they were bombed. And I heard that 2 of the families or the bombs went to black folks, and that the third one they didn't know at the time that I read the story. So, this is saying that, it's linked. I heard that yesterday, but anyway, so I don't know if there's any update. I haven't heard any update on that. Speaking of sugar, 2 black people, 1 Hispanic, the 2 black people died. Okay. I'm not going to say what I was thinking. Sugar tax. Iapo, we were talking about sugar yesterday. The Norwegians are traveling to Sweden for sweets. I think, that's that addiction. They got them on the road. Something they country done cut back. They got to go to another country to get the sweets because they desperate. They desperados. Get that mess out your system. Find you some books. Read you some books. Gabrielle Union claps back at channel that IDs her as Dwayne Wade's wife. Now, I've been hearing about Dwayne Wade with the children in the school in Florida where the shooting was. And for some reason, I didn't even make no association with Gabrielle Union. But she's making the point, don't be out here calling me Dwayne Wade's wife. I'm Gabrielle Union. I am a human being. I think that's what she's saying. I have a career. I'm like, I'm a public figure too. Don't be calling me, So, yeah. Okay. Smearing bodily fluids on roommates, things, and avoiding record defines peak white. Just look for the union label. Defines peak white privilege. So y'all know they talking about the. I was kind of confused too because there was a young woman who was in a dorm and she was getting sickly and she was going to health services and she had some kind of infection and then she was moving because her roommate was kind of like they didn't really jail and so when she was moving she saw her roommate on the day her roommate was like, oh, you're leaving? She like, yeah. And her roommate was like typing something and then one of the RAs was like, I think you need to see this. And she'd been putting up on Snapchat, Jamaican Barbie, I hate her, I put her toothbrush where the sun don't shine. And it turns out that the crazy white demon girl child was the little black young woman had her dishes, and she used her dishes and washed them and put them up so that when she came in with her takeout, she could get her fork and spoon. And the child was doing stuff to that. She had put stuff in her coconut oil and, she's crazy. Jazzy Rowe was basically poisoned by her roommate, got a slap on the wrist. So that's the short version of the story. But what I did hear is that Jazzy Rowe was testifying on her roommate's behalf. And I wasn't sure if that was like a truce. I didn't understand that. So, like to not get jail time or whatever. I mean, that story, that situation, that was so disgusting and awful and just like, okay, no, it wasn't true that Jazzy was testifying on behalf of the crazy white demon child. The country where, we talked about that. Think Mary Magdalene? Think again. So Mary Magdalene, I'm not really like a biblical scholar at all, but we hear about her as the woman who was like it was nasty what she did to that young lady. It was nasty. She's nasty. She's disgusting. My mother-in-law used to say, some people are drug up. That child was drug up. Like, I don't know who drug her up. Like, what? That's disgusting. Like, that is just really just mean and like, I don't know. They crazy. So Mary Magdalene was supposed to be a prostitute that hung around Jesus or something like that. Don't get me to. But anyway, according to this story, and these people are like writing a play or something about her, it doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. Now, we could have a whole conversation about what's in the Bible and what it says in the Bible, the fact that it's been written by people and edited by people, and there are all kinds of different versions, and it's translated. And when you go to translating, even when we're speaking English to people, when you try to translate, it's a whole bunch of different ways to interpret. When you translate language to language through cultures, it's a mess, in terms of what's in the Bible and what's not in the Bible. And that the Bible is like this, definitive, message. And then we don't get us to talk about the King James version of the Bible when he wanted to get divorced. And so he just changed the whole Bible so that it could support, or whatever. That's my, but Jesus of Nazareth. So anyway, she's saying that the claim that Mary was a sex worker comes from, and I don't have anything against sex workers, but I just thought it was interesting, comes from Pope Gregory the First, who declared her to be a penitent prostitute in the year 591. So, I mean, it's just like the power of, telling a story. Like, I don't know if the woman would be offended to be thought of and referred to as a prostitute or not, if she feels that her reputation was ruined. But I mean, just one person got some that started, and we just been out here believing it. When we think of Mary Magdalene, we think of her in that way. Larry Page's autonomous air taxi Cora flies in New Zealand. I don't know what that is. Tracing sickle cell back to one child 7,300 years ago. ACLU sues the TSA for domestic electronic screening details. So they say they're going to start screening, but they haven't released the details of what they're going to be doing. So the ACLU is like, what's your plan? What you going to do? After phasing out Chinese phones, Australia's Defense Department has banned officials from using WeChat. So I'm assuming that WeChat is a Chinese, like WhatsApp type app. Sixth grader writes will just in case there's a shooting at his school. Excuse me. Lockdown at top Los Angeles public school has Hollywood parents on edge. Now, this is a school where the people are relatively wealthy and privileged. So I'm sort of curious to see, y'all gonna save us? Are they gonna save us? They the ones with the property and the wealth and the power. Save us. They not gonna save us, are they? We gotta save ourselves. Oh, we gotta save ourselves. Okay. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck to add inclusion writers on Pearl Street projects. So this inclusion writer thing from, was it the Oscars, the award ceremony the other day, that the white woman said 2 words, inclusion writers, is just sweeping the world of entertainment. And I had asked, I'm like, well, I wonder if black men are going to include white women. I wonder if white women are, I didn't really think about what the white men were going to do, but I think these guys are both white guys and they got inclusion writers too. The Shies, Lena Waithe, Common and Cass talk Chicago, like authenticity and the need for different black narratives at South by Southwest. Dang, you reviewed The Chi. I watched one episode, but I didn't watch the rest because I don't have Showtime, but I thought it was really, really good. So I was like, I'm going to watch your reviews, to Lisa Ray, and kind of catch up. Because I had really, really enjoyed it when I watched that one episode that was free. Warren Washington, one of the first developers of atmospheric computer models in the 1960s. Brown Fellowship Society, oldest all-male funeral society in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, I think that the Brown Fellowship Society, if I'm not mistaken, they was probably a paper bag situation. So, I love the series. Is it over? I thought it was that one episode. I thought it was really, really good. I was really impressed. I think the Brown Fellowship Society discriminated against, more melanated brown folks. They only wanted, what is my thing doing? They only wanted some brown folks. But I don't know. Tooth of an ancient mega shark stolen in Australia. It's some kind of thing where the people go through, I don't know if it's a park or whatever, but they say they had this one hidden and the people had to really dig to get it. So they think that it was hidden and only certain people knew it was there. So they think, it has to be a certain type of person who took the ancient mega shark, the tooth of an ancient mega shark. China's security crackdown hit a university district where restaurants were ordered to only serve 10 foreigners at a time. So, with all of this stuff going on politically, I guess that's part of the thing in China, to limit the conversations that Chinese people can have with, because if you're filtering the information that people get, one way to filter information is to filter the people that they come in contact with. when there were free African people who would come through certain communities, like go down south, the sailors were known to deliver messages and paper and stuff to the enslaved black folks. Like, they were like, because they traveled freely and they traveled throughout the country, they could they were like the black postal service type situation, or the black message service. They were like black Twitter. Not really, but anyway. So, but then at certain times and in certain places, when the black people came into town, if they were sailors, the white people would just lock them up, so they couldn't be delivering no messages. Y'all not gonna be delivering messages here. And that's what the Chinese, they like, y'all ain't gonna be, we ain't gonna have these Americans, these foreigners trying to tell Chinese people about what's going on, because we've already blocked out, social media. We blocking out, we don't want no information coming in from y'all. We giving them the information that we feel that they need to have. So only 10 foreigners at a time, so we can watch and understand what's going on and monitor it. That's what I think is going on. Nepal plane crash survivors describe the chaos. So we talked about that plane crash yesterday. Wow, things have gotten so messed up. Nobody can just do and be anymore. We have to jump through all these hoops. Is that new, or is that just the same old, same old? I think it's just the same old, same old. And I think freedom and doing and being personally, and maybe it's like just the luxury or privilege of, just the luck of the draw of how I've been born. I kind of feel like it's in your head. Like, I feel like you could be free. Like in this book we're reading for book club that I didn't really like. You could be free, but you could be locked up. Or you could be free, but you could be locked up. So anyway, and in the book, the child was free. She was free from enslavement technically, but she was like living in somebody's attic. Once you could just go to Canada, for instance, now you have to get a passport, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Who goes to Canada? Since I'm back in Detroit, I want to go over to Canada, but like I was nervous, especially when I first got here, that like with my name, Rasulullah, that being part of my name, that would like cause me, because there was like all of this like Muslim stuff, and it's like, well, I don't want to go and then get trapped in Windsor. Who want to be trapped? But I don't know. I mean, then I just started to notice that I was starting to have all of this fear and anxiety about traveling, period. So I'm like, I ain't never been. Now the geese, they're all here now, the Canadian geese. In Philly, those Canadian geese just live there year round, and they get fed, and they aggressive. Like when the people come and they think you got food, they be on you. Them Canadian geese are like, shoot, don't nobody want to be in cold Canada flying back and forth. We're going to stay here and eat good. That's this edition of Notes on the News feed. Is there anything else in the news or anything? I guess the Rex Tillerson was like the biggest breaking news, but I had a moment of feeling, bad, but I think I'm over it. I don't really care. And I really try to not talk about politics, especially with y'all. Excellent as always, Angela. Thank you. That's it. That's all we got. Thank you for your likes, comments, subscriptions, prayers, positive vibes, and just for being out here, being you, being fabulous, being fully and fabulously you. Today is the best day ever, so go out and enjoy it and spread the light. So be you. Be fabulous. Peace and love. Love like the sun. Oh, I love that. Be fabulous, you. Be you. Be fabulous. Peace to Lisa Ray.